communities. He wasn't able to make it. Hey, people. Hey, YouTube consumers. Welcome to this week's edition of the Jitsi Community Call. As usual, let's start with the team and see if anyone wants to share updates. I think we should probably talk about the hot stuff, which is the Log4j vulnerability. Boris, do you want to summarize our determination there and maybe paste the link to the CV?
Sure. Everyone on the team jumped on this Friday morning. I'm just summarizing. I'm not taking credit for any of this, but the end result is 3 of our components have log4j as a dependency. None of them use it themselves. It's just a transitive dependency due to the costats library. In GCOFO, the usage is only in the testing phase, so GCOFO is unaffected. In VideoBridge, in all cases, the log4j code is only used when costats is enabled in the backend, which is something that needs to be done manually. So for the VideoBridge, we introduced a commit in May 2021, which broke log4j logging and also made the bridge unaffected by the CVE. We've now updated to the latest version of log4j, so logging is fixed and the latest version is safe. Gigassi was also using log4j via costats, and if costats is enabled, it is potentially affected. Gigassi instances with costats enabled should update to the latest version that is now in Debian stable, and the latest on Maven.
And that's a version that we produced on Friday, right?
Correct. And I think that's pretty much the summary. I'll paste the link in a second.
So, in summary, you have reason to be worried only if you're using Gigassi and have turned on costats for Gigassi. Other than that, you may still want to update to the latest versions that we've produced, but the urgency is only in this case. Does that sound right,
just
Boris?
To be on the safe side, there's 2 more cases that might be affected.
All right.
Which is if you're running a VideoBridge version older than 504, which is older than May 2021, or you're using a custom version of Jitsi VideoBridge and you made changes to the dependencies. So if you fix the mismatched versions of log4j.
Okay, so not just any changes, you specifically fixed log4j, the broken logging stuff.
Yes.
All right. I think we should probably improve the CV to specifically articulate that, because I've had questions about this even after people who read the CV, so maybe we can just word it that way. Are there any questions about this? I suppose not. All right. Are there any other updates from the team? Damien, George, Jaya, Yana, anything? Yana, didn't we have a Meet Jitsi release? Anything you want to update there?
Yes, we had a Meet Jitsi release last week on Thursday. We what's important there is we have added some more improvements around large conferences, specifically some guardrails when a large number of participants unmute their audio and video at the same time, around that, and some other changes in that regard. Um, what else is going to be
Breakout
added?
rooms.
Breakout rooms, yes. Thanks, Jonathan. That's the biggest new feature from this last release. We have released breakout rooms. Go and try them. Report if you have any issues. If you can access them in the participants panel. This is where you create the breakout rooms. Check them out. We're really excited about those.
Thank you, Yana. Anyone else from the
And
team?
and all that hits table.
Sorry, what was that, Damien?
That all that hits table. It was
All right, thank
released
you.
last week.
Gotcha. Anyone else from the team? All right. Let's open the mic to the floor. Oh, sorry, Jaya, what was that?
Yeah, I wanted to give the community an update about a Safari issue. So Safari 15.1, there were reports that the audio and video were not working for remote streams on the Safari browser, mobile browser, and both the desktop browser. So there was a WebKit bug which is resolved in the latest Safari 15.2 betas. So if you're hitting that bug, you might want to update your versions and ask and check again. So this is resolved in the latest versions.
Thank you very much, Jaya. Opening the microphone for the floor. Any questions or comments from the community?
Yes, hi everyone. It's Hamza here.
Hi, Hamza. How are you doing?
I'm sorry, Chagai. I took your.
No, I was just saying hi because I just popped in. I didn't want to ask anything.
Oh yeah, well. Hi everyone. I have a question. Well, it's actually not a question, but I'm just gonna have a discussion with you about something that my colleague Tom Bryan published on on the community forum. He's asking about improving Jitsi authentication. I'm gonna send you a link in the chat. Do you mind if I share my screen just to show you the diagram?
Go ahead.
So, where's the screen share? It's just right here. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So what we suggest is to design an external Node.js library that interacts with Jitsi Meet on one side and authentication providers from the other side. And this Jitsi Meet Authenticator app or library is going to support many many authentication providers like OpenID Connect, OAuth, LDAP, CAS, and many other authentication methods. So that's the goal. And I just want to know what you guys think about this, what you think about developing a new external service instead of building something into Prosody or Gcofo. Because we did this because we don't have the expertise to create something in Prosody because it's very complicated, or Gcofo.
Let me ask you this. That external library, it will essentially be generating JWT tokens that will be forwarding users to Jitsi with that appropriate token?
Exactly. So the only thing that we need to configure on Jitsi side is the JOTs,
The key.
JWTs.
Right. The cert, rather, right?
Yes.
The public cert. Okay. So I would say with community lead hat on, that is exactly how we want people to do authentication with Jitsi. We think it's not a great idea to add further bricks in Prosody or Gcofo. Hamza, remind me, were you working with Renater, or am I confusing with someone else?
Yeah, exactly. I know we work together, but we're not in the same administration. I actually work for the French Ministry of Ecology.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. So the reason you mentioned GCOFO or Prosody is probably because of an authentication mode that we started supporting there a long time ago, when we didn't know about dots. That was like 2014, I think, or 15,
Yes, exactly.
2014.
Yes.
So that was wrong. That's not how it was supposed. That was not a good idea.
I think it's
And
something called shibboleth, right?
yes, and it was supposed to be used with shibboleth, and it was the wrong idea to solve the problem. It was the wrong way to solve the problem. Ever since we've completely moved away from that model into a JOT-based model, and we're very, very happy with that. And we use that with all of our services as 8x8 where we require authentication. This is what we do with Jitsi as a service or with 8x8 work. So I think that is exactly the right way to approach authentication. Now, your first question was, do we have anything against that? Of course not. We support it. Now, the question of further discussion about, and it's not clear to me whether you were just informing us or whether you were maybe asking for help of some sort. I'm not sure. But any further discussion here would be would have to start with the rather specific definition of the problems that are being solved. Who is this extension for? Like, what do the people look like that are going to use this? Are they is it going to attempt to solve problems for enterprise companies? So therefore, some sort of LDAP server or something like that is expected, or any such thing. And I assume that you're probably starting with your use case in mind, which you should be. And so I suppose my only advice here would be to indeed focus on a problem that you're familiar with, and to not worry about overgeneralizing too much, because then that path is not great. But that's my only word of advice. That was probably even unsolicited, but I'm offering it nonetheless.
Yeah, that's actually what I was asking for. So it was about your opinion, and thank you for your for these ideas. What we're trying to build here is this app. We're going to try to make it as generic as possible, but we're going to start working with OpenID Connect in the first place, and after OpenID Connect, we can add many other providers. The only problem here that we have is that we need to slightly edit the Jitsi user interface. We're going to add some new pop-ups. We're going to add something in the config.js. So for this step,
why? What would they do? Let me try and understand that.
For example, when I try to reach, when I try to join a conference, I need a pop-up that tells me to authenticate and open the conference.
So you typically you shouldn't need to modify the Jitsi interface for that. The way we solve that in our apps is there's two ways. Either you have redirecting pages that do all that stuff, or something that we do more often is that you put Jitsi Meet in an iframe, and you solve the problem there. That's for example, all 8x8 apps that use Jitsi use it within an iframe. So that's how even we consume it. We never have Jitsi deployed as Jitsi standalone.
All right, so the iframe should solve, because we try to avoid the iframe, because I think it's kind of a mess sometimes to
Why is
work
that?
with iframes. Because we're gonna have many iframes, the iframe of Jitsi, and inside the iframe of Jitsi we have the iframe of Etherpad, and that's just my opinion. It's not. Maybe it's easy for other developers work with iframes, but I think
well, you're not going to
iframes-
have to work with all of them, right? You were going to have to modify it to
Yeah,
manipulate
sure.
one iframe, and that's the Jitsi iframe. And and if there are any problems that arise there, you should let us know. But that is the approach that we take, so that approach is fairly well maintained.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have a discussion internally about this, but it's very interesting. I didn't think about it, but it seems very interesting.
There's an additional
can-
benefit there, which is that you also can subscribe to events and things and do a lot more customization as you do your load.
Through the iframe, right?
Correct. Through the iframe API specifically.
All right.
So it's in the use case we're talking about, you actually load an external API JavaScript and call a few functions from your page, and then generate the iframe and do all these things, and it lets you subscribe.
Right. Thank you, Aaron. I actually should have been more specific there. I'm not advocating just creating an iframe out of Jitsi. I'm specifically referring to using external API.js, the iframe API, and manipulating that. So you shouldn't actually be touching the, you be messing with the iframe itself.
And you just give us a div.
Oh
That's
yes,
something
exactly.
that-
Well, okay. Because maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't think there is a way to show a pop-up through the iframe with a specific text and specific buttons.
No, you can show pop-ups on top of the iframe with no problem at all.
Oh, all right. So on top of the iframe, right?
And it will look exactly the same way as your mock-up here.
Yes.
Only you would know that it's not actually part of Jitsi. Now, maybe that's a problem. It would bother maybe you personally, but your users would never know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they, view source.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go back to my team, talk about this, and I'm gonna come back to you a few weeks later. I think after Christmas, of course. And we're gonna maybe show you something, a demonstration, or we're gonna it's something to share with the community. So this project is gonna be open source. So pull requests and ideas, suggestions are welcome.
If you want to check out the proof of concept, Element with Matrix has a nice iframe that works fine, just like you described. So
Elements with Matrix. Okay, thank you.
Just as a proof of concept, but yeah, it's pretty simple.
So actually, Saul responded to our topic, and there's already a project called Jitsi Kclog, but this project is only specific to OpenID Connect. But we try to make it as generic as possible, so it's not only linked to OpenID Connect. It's going to support many other providers.
When you talk about many other providers, do you mean providers that you actually need and use, or do you mean conceptually you're going to try and open it to everything?
It's only conceptually.
Okay, so take it or leave it advice from a no dog here. Usually trying to design things to be as generic as possible is it's not a great idea, because you end up solving problems that you never have, and it's never possible to think of all the problems that you will have. So I think the perfectly legitimate thing to do is to design something that solves your problems that you've experienced, and to try and keep it, fairly flexible around that. So some generosity is always a good idea. But specifically with authentication, our earlier attempts of solving authentication just show how easy it is to go in wrong directions. And every time you try to design stuff to be as generic as possible, and the same thing ends up happening. It's impossible to think of all the problems, but it's very easy to think of problems that will never happen.
Yeah.
Anyways, take it or leave it.
Well, I think you're right. Because we're gonna try to make it work in the first place only with OpenID Connect, and then we're gonna start to think about other problems. Because, yeah. Okay, well, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your intentions, Hamza.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? This was a great discussion. Anything else?
Hey, hello. This is Fabrice speaking.
Hey, Fabrice.
Hey, thanks first for your platform. We are trying to using it, and we find it great. And this week we got an issue.
Thank you for your thanks.
Okay, we got this issue with Plan B. Plan B something. I don't remember exactly the issue name with the last version of Chrome, which broke our platform. So I made a kind of a quick patch by adding a header for such a Plan B issue happening in the nginx Docker image I have in front of the Jitsi bridge platform we have. And it worked fine. But now I'm trying to upgrade from old version. In fact, I was running. It was version of Docker, I mean. It was 48 something to the very last. And it's breaking many things. Many things are kind of broken. I see that I'm maybe missing some new attributes in the Docker Compose or many things. So I was wondering what will be the best way to upgrade Jitsi Docker platform from 1 year release to the very last one. Would you have some, what would you suggest me to do? Should I upgrade one version one by one and try to fix things one by one, or
isn't the whole point of Docker that you never have to worry about upgrades and just go and deploy the new stuff?
Yeah, it should. But when I do, for instance, it looks like I'm missing some new parameters in the Docker Compose or the dot environment file. So by just moving from 1 year release to the last one, it looks like I'm missing some new parameters or configuration, and that makes that the last release is not just working anymore. For me, I mean.
Scott, Aaron, do you have any ideas? Saul probably would have been great to have for that.
I don't know the diff from the original. My suggestion would be to take whatever the example one is that's currently there and see if you're missing any obvious parameters. And if not, maybe to start from the example one and try recustomizing it. It should be fairly easy to tear down and start back up. I understand if you're using it in a production fashion, maybe you want to do this in a different spot. But as far as I understand it, there shouldn't be anything that was in your old config that would be sort of breaking anything now. So it should just be something, as you said, about missing config parameters, and your best bet is just to start with the default set that you get, and try seeing if there's anything you see that's missing.
Okay. Wasn't there something
following it very thoroughly?
Yeah, I'm also not very familiar with Docker, but what I have seen, like, there's some case where you need to delete the config folder so it will be regenerated again.
So the local mount where everything gets created once you run may actually, you may want to just blow that away or start from a fresh volume with your test environment so that you can see it generating all the new files. I believe the latest ones generate new files every time. So if you're using the latest, that should have been fine, but that does not say that the state of the old file system is somehow going to always be updated or anything like that.
Yeah, but this is what I do. In fact, I do Docker Compose down, which remove all the files and images. So
but I believe it's the volume that it used to mount everything, right?
Yeah.
So you may want to clear that before you just use a different volume, move that out of the way, and start fresh.
Yeah. Okay. So you're suggesting to try to make working the very last images, and instead of moving from one to to the next one, right?
Well, my initial suggestion would have been to move from one to the next, but clearly that's not working for you. So I think starting from scratch and then, seeing what the diff was would be my next move if I were trying this.
Okay.
Yeah, you can also do a Docker compose RM, I think. That will sometimes get rid of that volume. When you're using Docker compose in particular, the volume configs can persist from bringing it down and up.
Yeah, okay. But my issue is mainly about some parameters. For instance, there was I saw one which is called public underscore URL or something like that, which was added in some releases some time ago that I'm missing, and it's breaking, it's generating some cause issues.
Well, you definitely need that one. Yeah, I suggest at least adding that one and see if it fixes everything for you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a second question then. You talked just before about breakout room. Is it features that we can use using libjitsimit, or is it only on the jitsimit side?
Well, you'd have to implement it yourself if you do it. It's the functionality of Jitsi. You would be able to use it if you were using the iframe API, but Breakout Rooms and Jitsi use libjitsi libjitsimit to implement that functionality. So you won't get it automatically if you just rely on libjitsimit.
Okay, but it's not a new feature within libjitsimit to do that, right?
I don't know if we made any changes to libjitsimit. There might have been some tweaks there. Damien, do you recall, or anyone else here? I don't know if any changes in libjitsimit had to be done to make this possible. Like specifically, we're using our XMPP connection, and maybe that required some changes in libjitsimit. Does anyone here remember?
I don't know if there were minimal. Yeah, we need to do some cleaning and stuff, but yeah, there was most of the stuff is procedure Jikofu and UI.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Fabrice. I'm curious, by the way, what organization are you part of? If you feel comfortable sharing, you don't have to.
The organization, I would say, is so far it's myself. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So it's trying to make a new platform running and working so far.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Well then.
So before we end,
yes.
Just wanted to bring up here that the next call is on the 27th of December, and maybe many will be like on a holiday. So maybe we.
Oh, thank you, Jana. Yes, I meant to say that we're going to cancel the next one. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So no community call 2 weeks from now. And I think the second week of January is when we're supposed to see ourselves at each other again, right?
Yes.
Am I right?
We've got 2 raised hands, by the way.
Right. Well, we just skip one and then we meet again. Merry Christmas, everyone, and see you again next year.
Sorry. Yeah, I just have a quick question. I don't know if it's a good question or not, but is it possible inside a conference to switch from Stero to mono once the conference is started?
No.
Okay.
No,
do you plan to do anything on this?
No.
Okay. Just to let you know, there are some issues with audio interfaces, which doesn't really work well in stereo mode. So yeah, it can be tricky. But, I mean, it's an issue. a known issue. I know like Discord has the same issue with WebRTC as well, and audio interfaces. So yeah, in theory, it should be possible to renegotiate the stereo mode while you are in a conference, or do you see any blockers for this?
It isn't clear to me what the difference is between renegotiating rather than just reloading, because both will be disruptive, very likely. Well, I guess if you do offer answer, maybe. So we're like, the whole point here is what, to save yourself 3 seconds of missing audio, or?
Yeah, not to restart the conference. I mean, to stay in the same conference.
Right. I understand the technical objective, but what problem is that specifically solving for people? Is it because 3 seconds of missed audio?
No, it's. I mean, for audio interfaces, you don't resave like the stream in right stereo actually. So you're gonna hear yourself on the left side with like basic audio interfaces like.
No, right, but that problem is also solved if you just reload, right? I'm not. My question is, I'm sorry, I'm not phrasing it properly. I understand why you want to go back from stereo to mono. The way to achieve that today is by just reloading the conference, which would indeed imply a short interruption.
Yeah.
It's not clear to me that there will be no interruption if you try to renegotiate, reoffer, answer everything, so that you remove these parameters, because you need to renegotiate the way that Alpus has been advertised, and you need to reconfigure your streams. So there might be interruptions even if you try to do it without leaving the conference. So we might be talking something like, 3 seconds versus 1 second of interruption or something like that. So and that would be a tremendous amount of effort to gain 2 seconds of not missing audio, which is how I'm looking at it right now. If there's other problems that are eluding me, then please let me know. But
okay, because I tried a bit, it seems to work actually. I still have some issues like for all the users, but it seems to be able like to switch from one to another quite good actually in a current conference. But maybe I'm wrong. But
no, or maybe you're right. It is very, very likely that I'm wrong. And if you believe that you have a low effort patch to the problem, then we're looking. It would be great to see your patch.
Okay, I will try to make it work a bit better. So yeah, thank you anyway.
Thank you. I thought I saw one more raised hand. Ed.
Yeah, this is Ed. Can you hear me?
Hi, Ed. Yes, we can.
Yeah, from Grand Rapids, first time everything. Having a problem with overheating. This just started popping up on, I think, recent versions of Jitsi on my MacBook Air. It only seems to happen when my camera is live, and maybe after about an hour of a conference or so. But I don't have it with anything else, Zoom or FaceTime or anything like that. So I was just wondering if anybody else had that problem or a similar problem.
We haven't heard anything. I think so when you say it started happening, are you using a deployment of yours, or are you using Meet Jitsi?
Yeah, it's I have a link that I opened in both Chrome and also the Jitsi app for Mac. I think that's an Electron app, right? Am I right?
Right, but a link to Meet Jitsi or a link to a deployment of yours?
I think it's to a private server. There's another guy in this call, Stan, who would know, but I don't think it's to meet.jitsi.
It could be. So one of the things that I'm thinking, and it's kind of very, very hard to come up with an explanation for overheating, because it could literally be a million things. And
right.
Well, I don't know, but it's very hard. However, one of the things that maybe causing this is we finalized VP9 Sport recently. Maybe the way that it works with your webcam on our computer causes tremendously different CPU utilization. It's not something that we've observed. It's kind of around the same. the way we've seen it. But it can certainly vary from one hardware configuration to the next. So that you could try, if this is a private instance, to see if VP9 is being used, and then switch back to VP8 and see if it's any different.
Oh, okay. So that's something that the server administrator could do?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll check with him on that then. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
This is Stan. The meetings that Ed has been talking about, we've been using the public Meet Jitsi sessions.
Oh, all right. I think we did switch to VP9 there as well, although I'm not 100%. Yana, Jonathan, do you know?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So that might coincide as well. And in that case, you could force could you force VP8 through config.js parameters?
Yes, they could.
Okay,
Jay,
so
do
is
you
that,
mind
is that
pasting
a
link?
file on my computer?
No, that's just a parameter that you have to add to the URL for every participant. Actually, for one participant. If there's one participant without VP9, everyone will switch down. Or an easier way to check this would be to also have an instance that from Firefox or Safari, because they don't support VP9, so everyone else will downgrade to VP8 automatically. Or if Jay, you want to send a parameter here in the chat.
Okay, and
yeah, sure, I'll do that.
So another question I have would be: is it something that I could fix on the Mac OS side? In other words,
yeah, with another Mac. That's probably the only way.
Only with an upgraded Mac. Okay, thanks.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. And this is the link. So if people join the conference with that parameter there, after the hashtag config video quality preferred codec. Jaya, is it enough for one participant to have that preferred codec, or do everyone?
Yeah, if one of them switches to VP8, then all the others in the conference will fall back to VP8.
There you go. So that might be an easy way to test. Thank you, Jaya. All right, folks. Enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And see you again in a month.